Afternoon all, how are we doing? As you can tell by the title of the video, Spurs want Issa Diop. That's the rumours that's come out today. A little impromptu video, wasn't planning much this weekend. Charlie's currently editing a video to go up tomorrow night or Monday night. But anyway, yeah, it came out today, a bit of a surprise. As you can see, it was the image on my side here is by Cava at Sky. He says Spurs want to sign West Ham centre-back Issa Diop. Jose Mourinho has singled him out for praise when he was in charge at Man United. Diop hasn't played for almost a month. West Ham don't want to sell a 22-year-old in today's market who would be valued at more than £50 million. I mean, that's factually incorrect, isn't it? Because he came on as a substitute in the last game. So I think he's referring to that he's not started a game. But a bit difficult when you're suspended for one of the games, isn't it? So I think we should disregard that little piece of information he's put in there. But it's about the fact that Spurs are looking at Issa Diop. There is an article in Sky Sports News, because that's the source where it's come from. And I'll just quickly run through that. It says Spurs want in. It's believed that West Ham do not want to sell him. He's valued at more than £50 million. Put it 38 times. Mourinho singled him out for praise by calling him a monster and congratulated the West Ham scouting department for finding him. Spurs see the defender as a long-term replacement for Vertonghen and Alderweireld, who signed a new 3.5-year contract yesterday. Vertonghen's contract runs out in the summer, but Mourinho wants a 32-year-old to sign a new deal. So that's the rumours. That's the news. Well, let's go through that first of all. We know Mourinho likes him. We beat Man United at the London Stadium, and straight away after the game, Mourinho was heaping praise on Diop. You know, calling him a monster, saying well done to whoever found him and stuff. So, and we all thought then that Diop might end up going to join Mourinho at Old Trafford, but then he lost his job. So now here he is at Spurs, and he's been linked with him. I'm not that surprised that Spurs would be looking for a centre-back. Mourinho likes a good, sturdy defence, as we know. He likes his back four. But he's got good options. Alderweireld signed a new deal yesterday. We know that. He's now committed his long-term future to Spurs. Vertonghen's deal runs out in the summer. But even if we take Vertonghen out of the equation here, they've still got Sanchez, who I think is a damn fine centre-back, and they've got Foyth as well. Do they need another centre-back? Possibly. Do they need to spend 50 million plus on a centre-back? Not too sure. That's where they need to be spending the money. I think they should be looking at their full-back areas first and foremost. But that's the rumours anyway. The big thing for me is, what does Diop want? Because we've seen with Payet and we've seen with Marko Arnautovic that once heads get turned, bad things can happen if you don't play ball. And whether we like to admit or not, Spurs are a big club. They're in the Champions League. They're probably going to, you'd assume they might qualify for the Champions League for next season. Despite a poor start, they've hit form again. You'd expect them to finish in the top four and be playing Champions League football next season. That puts a bit of pressure on Diop, because I guess the question is, how soon do you want to be playing Champions League football? Because when a big club comes knocking, you've got to answer the door sometimes. If it wasn't Spurs, I think the fans might be a bit more open to selling Diop. His form's not been great this season, but, and this is a big but, he's not been bad. He's not been awful, okay? He's just not been as good as he was last season. And last season he exceeded expectations, I think. He looked like a bargain for 22 million. He came in, he was 21 years old, he came into a new league, and he looked fantastic. This season, he's not quite hit the dizzy heights, but he's just not awful. And in the summer, I remember speaking to Gons about this in the summer, because Man United were being linked with him for about 65 million. And we were sitting here saying, we take 65 million, and we're humming on about 65. There's already been about 15 million pounds knocked off his, what do you want to call this, the Sky Sports value, the transfer rumour value, whatever you want to call it. It's 15 million has been knocked off in about 4 months. That means in the next 4 months you can put it back on again. The one thing I will say about this rumour, whether it's from a buying perspective or a selling perspective, I do think it's a summer transfer. I can't see Spurs signing anyone for this much money in January, and I certainly can't see West Ham looking to sign a player like Diop in January either. So I do think this is a summer one. And if I was doing this video in May, my mindset might be slightly different. Gonzo's view might be different to me on this, because I've always had a belief, I still do have a belief, that every player in football's got a price. I stand by that, and I think I'm correct in saying that. I do think every player's got a price. And it's just a case of what is Diop's price? What is acceptable for West Ham United to sell Issa Diop. Is it 50 million? I think 50 million is the grey area. It's probably too much to reject immediately, but I don't think it's enough to accept immediately, if that makes sense. As a fan, you don't want to say so you're in that bit where they're tempting you, the carrot's dangling, but is the carrot big enough? Are you going to go get it? I think you could probably squeeze a bit more out of it. I think you could get up a little bit more. Maguire, everyone's going to point to Maguire as the benchmark, aren't they? 80 million. Maguire went for 80 million in summer, but he's English. The homegrown thing does add value onto any player, so you've got to remove a little bit off that 80 million. But what I will say is, if Jose Mourinho wants you, that's a big. Not only is that a big compliment, Jose Mourinho will believe he can turn Diop world class, and that would suggest that eventually Diop would become world class and he would become worth more than what we're going to sell him for. So, but certainly 50 million is a tempting thing. And this funny goes back to the video that Gonzalez did yesterday, and it's a video I was going to touch on whether tonight or tomorrow or whatever, about where do we get the funds for, if not January, even looking ahead to the summer. Yes, we'd have the TV money, but we need to top up a little bit. And the thing we're throwing out there is, do we need to sell a big player? Diop is probably one of those big players, because Ogbonna, he wouldn't be worth anywhere near as much as Diop would be. 10, 12, 50 million pounds, it's not enough, is it? 50 million allows you to reinvest. If you're assuming it gets reinvested, this is obviously the most important part, that all the money goes back in, and that 50 million goes in. You can get 2 players for that. 2 damn good players. 2 players that can fit into our starting 11. We spoke about Max Aarons on the players we're being linked with. That would get you Max Aarons and would get you centre back, that 50 million. But this is where it gets a bit more complicated. Over the last month, we've heard about how Huselos is bad. Huselos is not good. Huselos is rubbish. We've heard from the leaks, the unofficial sources have been telling us that Huselos is to blame. Well, Huselos was here when Issa Diop signed, wasn't he? So in a season and a half, we've basically turned a 22 million purchase into someone that's worth 50 million pounds, and you've got to then give credit to the people that found him and bought him, and I suppose Pellegrini for playing him, but that's not that difficult, is it? Playing him is not one thing. So then he's more than doubled. The funny thing is, if you sold him now, today, let's just say you could sell him today, if we sold him today, the profit would cover what we spent in the summer, and we'd almost be running a profit for the last 12, 13 months. So it's a tricky one. Do I want Diop sold? No. But what I will say is, I think we're at the stage as a football club, and I thought this last summer as well, the summer's just passed. What I do think is that we can't be scared to sell a player. And I don't mean Yarmolenko, I don't mean Snodgrass, Masuaku. I mean someone that is in your first 11. Someone like Harry Maguire for Leicester. You cannot be scared to sell him and go again. Because if you do it right, you're better off. Leicester have shown you the way. They went and signed, I can't pronounce his name correctly, Soyuncu. They signed him for 20 something million, took him in, didn't play him. They stuck with Evans and Maguire, but they had him there, getting used to England, getting used to the league, getting minutes here and there. So when they saw Maguire, obviously they probably played bluff. We need to replace Maguire. We're going to need a lot of money. We're going to need the 80 million because we've got to get someone in of Maguire's ability. Well, they already had him. They already had him at the club, and I think that's a challenge for West Ham. That, do we have the player to step into Diop? No, so we'd have to go replace him. Do we have the player to step into if we sold Rice or Anderson? No, we don't. Possibly Anderson, but we don't have Rice as a replacement yet. So we can't. I always find the difference when Gonzo was talking about what's the difference between Everton, Wolves, Leicester, and West Ham, and I'm talking about Leicester here. The difference between Leicester and West Ham is being afraid. Whenever a bid comes in from one of our top players, it's almost like panic mode at the club. Pandemonium goes on. That all this stuff comes out. We're not selling this player. There's absolutely no way we're selling. Well, yeah, you will. The money's right. So it's just the mindset's completely different. Leicester aren't afraid. Leicester think, well, you know what, we'll sell this player because we have faith. We have the correct procedures in place to go and get the next guy in. We know who we're going to go get. Whereas we don't have that. We sold Diop tomorrow. Tell you something, there'd be panic about what centre back we're going to go get now. We'd be running around looking for a centre back because we just wouldn't have it already set in place. And I think that's where we fall down. That's what makes me scared a little bit. Would I sell Issa Diop for 50 million? Ask me in the summer. I wouldn't sell him in January for 50 million. But in the summer, possibly. It depends on his form between now and then. But no player is irreplaceable at West Ham. And at the end of the day, he's not in the starting 11 at the minute, is he? When we play Palace, when we do the preview, I'll be surprised if Gonzo says, I'd start Diop for this one. I guess the only other issue that I've not discussed is it's Spurs. And whether you like it or not, it does play a part. You do not want to go. You don't want to see him leave, go to Spurs and become a world class centre back under Jose Mourinho, because I think that's what he would do. But anyway, you guys let us know what you think at home. Would you sell Issa Diop for 50 million? If not in January, would you sell him in the summer for 50 million pounds? Because this is the rumour that's going around social media at the minute. It's been reported by Sky Sports, and the guy on my side here, Cava, he's not the greatest source, is he? It was him that was saying, you cast your mind back to summer, it was him that was saying that Maxi Gomez was done. Maxi Gomez was a hammer. He was on his way to West Ham. I think at one point he reported he was having his medical. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did. Anyway, I think Gonzo's doing a video tomorrow. So if you like this video, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're around here, and